Hello and welcome to an exclusive next level webinar, how to build, grow, and maintain a multi-million-dollar email list that actually generates leads, adds value, and isn't spammy. I know that's a mouthful, guys. We had a fun time coming up with that title. Hope that's what got you here. I'm your host, Adam Carswell, and I'm joined by some major commercial real estate celebrities today. John Casmon and Dr. Adam Gower. Really honored to just be in their presence and super energized for this panel. I got to give major kudos and a huge thank you to my co-host, Fletcher Wheaton. There's so much going on behind the scenes here, just in the future of next level webinars as well. Our mastermind, like all I'm saying is Fletcher is a big part of what you're going to see here today and just wouldn't be as amazing without him. So Fletch, I guess I'll flip it over to you here quick, my co-host. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, Adam. I'm pretty excited about this today as I'm growing my own list. And I think this is one of those days where the less talking I do, the more value people will get because we have some really good guests on. So thank you.
Absolutely. Definitely looking forward to it. So if you're here with us live today, thank you for investing your time with us. I know it's the middle of the day for most of you, so really excited to have you here. Let's get that chat box warmed up. Go ahead and punch in who you are, where you're tuned in from. I always like to have fun with it, guys. So after you do that, if you want, go ahead and throw your favorite color in there. For me, my favorite color is green. And as I mentioned, I know that the title of today's presentation, it's a little goofy, it's a little funny, but honestly, there very well could be multiple million-dollar takeaways revealed today. So pay attention as we continue to break the ice here and start brainstorming on some questions that you might have for our panelists. So real quick too, if you're joining us on the replay, be sure to like, share, and subscribe there on whatever platform you're tuned in on. And make sure to check out the show notes for links connected to today's message. And lastly, if you're listening on the Dream Chasers platform, be sure to drop us a rating there and follow the link in the show notes to the video replay. Okay, so here we are. Time to present. Time to really get to the panel, if you will. I want to do a quick plug for our guests, John and Adam. As you're listening today and tuned in, go ahead and check out their websites now. We're going to do this real quick. Casmoncapital.com and gowercrowd.com. Just to get some more context and background on them as we're making our way through. That's casmoncapital.com and gowercrowd.com. Here we go. A little background on these guys. So we'll start with John. I first met John, guys. It seems like forever ago because I think this whole pandemic thing is just like this weird time space that we're living in. But John and I connected face to face at Best Ever Conference earlier in 2020, which was like, John, I don't know, from what I can remember, is like the last face-to-face conference that we've had in a while. And I just remember we hit it off because he was originally from Cleveland. He still lives in Ohio. Cleveland is my hometown, and just a great all-around guy. A little more background on John. He is a real estate entrepreneur who has partnered with busy professionals to invest in close to $90 million worth of apartments. He also consults active multifamily investors to help them start or grow their business. And he hosts the Target Market Insights Multifamily and Marketing podcast, and is the co-creator of the Midwest Real Estate Network Summit, a no-pitch event to connect like-minded investors. That's key. No-pitch events are the best. Prior to becoming a full-time investor, John worked in corporate America, overseeing marketing campaigns for General Motors, Nike, Coors Light, while building his personal multifamily portfolio. Now on to the doctor, Dr. Adam Gower. Adam and I, you know what, Adam, I don't remember when we first met, but I had you on Dream Chasers at least a year, maybe a year or two ago. Michael Flight, who's a really close friend and really just boss and mentor of mine, he sent me your podcast when we first started working together. And I could just tell by the way he sent it to me, he was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, Adam, you need to listen to this podcast. So here we go. Adam Gower helps real estate sponsors build their investor lists and raise more equity without having to spend all of their time networking. He has more than 30 years and 1.5 billion of transactional experience in the commercial real estate and finance, in commercial real estate and investment. Today, he helps build best of class digital marketing platforms for private clients so they can raise more capital online, and provides online courses for those who want to do it themselves. That is enough out of me. We'll go in the same order, which we just did. John, why don't we have you go first and just kind of give us A little context and background on who you are, where you're from, what you're working on now, and then we'll transition to Adam. And then, guys, we'll get straight into this panel discussion about building up that email list.
Well, Adam, thank you for that warm introduction. I'm excited to be here and sharing the virtual stage with Dr. Gower. And you read a lot of my background, but just to give people some context, I was a W-2 guy, corporate America. My background is in marketing. I worked on large marketing campaigns for big companies, big brands, Nike, General Motors, Buick, Mountain Dew, these big brands. And part of what we used to do is we would work with influencers as well. So we worked with, smaller folks on social media and other people who were building kind of their network, micro influencers, if you will. And that really helped me to understand how some of these individuals were building their own networks and using that network to monetize it. And as we collaborated with them, we were trying to get some of that rub off with their authenticity, right? So as we were trying to, whether it was for Bombay Sapphire or for various brands we worked with, we were trying to align ourselves with these great influencers who had already built an audience. So that was a lot of the work that we did. On the side, I was building my personal portfolio, and I just got to that point where I really wanted to make that transition. For me, building that personal portfolio really started back in the General Motors days. I was there when we went into bankruptcy, and I recall the day I thought I was going to lose my job, and I didn't, which was great. But that let me know that that wasn't a secure thing. Having a corporate job, even though I was working at a large company, even though my dad was super ecstatic that I was working for a company like GM, I knew that I couldn't spend my life working there because I would always be looking over my shoulder, figuring out at what day will I get let go, or are they downsizing next week? And I just felt like that was going to be a never ending thing. So that's why I started building my personal portfolio. I actually started running out of my own money. So I had to keep waiting until I could save up money to buy properties. And that led me into ultimately partnering with other people. Fast forward a little bit, we do have a portfolio right now. We're general partners in around $90 million worth of real estate and continue to grow. And we do help other people leverage the power of marketing to build their networks as well.
Yeah, and I think one cool thing to note here too, and I saw this. I think I already knew this, but I saw it on your website. Is you are very close with Joe Fairless as well, and he's based out of Cincy too, isn't he?
He is. He is.
Yeah. So that's a good friendship to have, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, the funny thing is that the Cincinnati connection is how I met Joe. I had no aspirations to be a syndicator or anything like that. I literally was doing my own deals. I was running out of my own money, and I was getting to the point where I wanted to at least partner with other people. And I had identified Cincinnati as a market I knew I would be moving to at some point. And I just wanted to connect with other Cincinnati investors. And I was on Bigger Pockets one day, and I just flat out asked, "Hey, anybody in Cincinnati?" And about 3 people said, "You should talk to this Joe Fairless guy." And this was about 4 years ago, right? So this is a while back, 4 or 5 years ago. And obviously he's had a lot of success since then, but it's been a great relationship, and it's great to have people in your corner that have some great experiences, and you can learn and share thoughts or share best practices as well.
I love it. Well, thank you, John, for the intro. Excited to pick your brain here in a moment, but we got to get the Dr. Adam Gower. That's my best English accent I could do to introduce you. Take over.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me on this fabulous webinar, Adam and Fletcher. Really appreciate it. So look, you've given kind of a very brief summary of my background, hundreds of years of experience, gazillions of transactional experience, right? It's all there. So what I'm going to do actually to get into the conversation today, I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to me that is directly relevant to building email lists and the power of email lists. And this is what happened around 2008. So in 2008, the economy had collapsed. There was a liquidity crisis, and massive swathes of real estate were defaulting on their debt. And I was brought into a bank, a major bank, actually East West Bank in California. Now I think they're a $50-60 billion bank, but they were having a hard time because they'd done a lot of lending to commercial real estate developers. And a lot of those loans were defaulting. right? The economy had dried up and sponsors were unable to pay on their debt. So my job was to sell the notes and to sell this paper to investors. And I had a list. I'll tell you how I got this list. One of the major brokers, it was a lucky break when I went into the bank. I was actually brought in by the board of directors. One of the major brokers during this period of panic made a big mistake and sent out an email, but instead of putting their entire list into the BCC column, put it into the CC column. So suddenly I had this list of about 5,000 investors, and I thought, what can I do with that? Right? So I've got this impossible task to deal with. So I started sending blasts to this list with these lists of notes that I was selling. And this is what happened. I would send out this, I mean, apart from the fact that nobody actually believed that I was going to be selling anything, it was a whole different, they all thought banks were full of it, but I really was selling stuff. What happened was that when I sent out 5,000 emails, sitting at my desk, I received hundreds of replies, all wanting more information. It was completely overwhelming and impractical to deal with. So I built automated systems. They were kind of like having a hand-cranked automated system. But what I did was I pre-wrote the responses. If somebody came back and said, yes, I'm interested, I had a script that said, okay, thanks for your response. Here, I need you to sign this confidentiality agreement. And then I had another one once they sent that back that said, here's the information, click this link. And then if they came back and said something else. So I had this series of emails that when I got these hundreds of emails, when I sent out a blast, I had these, I would sit there and I would just copy and paste, reply, paste, reply, paste. And I'd sent them out. And I did this automatically. Or not automatically, I did it manually. But basically, I was the manual component of an automated system. And in the course of a year, I sold over $1 billion, almost $1 billion of non-performing real estate collateralized notes for the bank. And what I learned from that was the absolute power of emails, of having an email list. I cannot imagine. I'm going to preempt your first question, Adam. I'm sorry to do it. Your first question is, why do we need an email list? The simple answer is, how the heck else would you do it? Right? I can't imagine any other way of doing it, to be honest with you. Anyway, so that's my story. I built automated systems that I hand cranked to do a lot of business. And that's how I've come to love email, basically.
Great opener. Great opener. John, you got your work cut out for you now on a comeback. So, yeah. And, I think you make a great point the way you say it. There's like, how else are you going to do it? So I don't know. Did you have any other follow-up comments there, Adam? Because we're definitely getting ready to break the ice.
There is one actually, and I have to tell you, there was a lady, and unless she's on the call now, it would be indiscreet of me to suggest. If she is, put your hand up and let us know. But there was a lady on the call yesterday that actually blew my socks off. She said, yes, she said, I don't have a website. She said she does all her communication via social media, LinkedIn, and presumably Twitter and Facebook, etc. And that is extraordinary. So I think at the end of the day, you work with those tools that you are the most comfortable with and that work the best for you. But the subject today is email, and that's what drives my business to this day.
Absolutely. All right. Well, excited to start picking you guys' brains. This is an open floor, open format panel. So as you heard John and Adam's stories, if you had any questions come to mind, don't hesitate. Don't be shy. We are not afraid of silence, as I always like to joke and say here at Next Level Webinars. So feel free to start filling up the chat box with questions. I know we had some in advance come through. So Fletcher, if you want to go ahead and throw one of those in there right now to get us started, let's do it.
Yeah, that was a great story, Dr. Gower. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to bring this one over to John, and you kind of answered it in your way, Dr. Gower. But John, why, if somebody like me in the beginning of 2020 was just on LinkedIn, was just on Facebook, doing things like that, and didn't really do uh, an email list, and was just doing kind of like social media, just kind of like Adam was saying, what are you missing by not doing email marketing?
Yeah, I mean, before I answer your question, I want to just make sure I understand where everyone's coming from. I'm assuming everyone who's on here is a real estate investor or interested in investing, maybe raising capital. But can you guys maybe just put your primary focus in the chat box so I can make sure we have the right context for some of these answers? So if you are, a syndicator or you're raising capital for deals, just write that in there. Or if you are, flipper or whatever else, just jot that in there so we can see exactly what everyone's focus is. Okay. All right. See a couple raising capital, syndicator. See a couple people typing.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Good clarifier, John. Thank you.
All right, cool. So it looks like most people are looking to use email marketing potentially for raising capital. So I'm going to talk in that context. I'll keep my eye on the chat box to just understand if anyone's looking at something different, but that's going to help me with my line of responses. So the question was, why do you need to use email marketing, especially if you're active on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and you've already built a network there? The number one reason is you don't control the audience on those other platforms. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they control that audience. They control your network there. One, at any moment, they could ban you for whatever reason. They can flag you. You can get suspended. There are a lot of things that can happen where you can get flat out banned from the platform. And if you are looking to raise capital for real estate and all of your contacts are on a platform where you cannot access it or you can't get access to the database, you're screwed. So that's number one. Okay. You can't access it. Number two, Dr. Gower talked about how he got started in this space, emailing people back and forth, replying to hundreds of people. That's laborious. Okay. It takes a lot of work to manually sit there and write out a message, write out responses, and send it over. And guess what? If you try to do this on LinkedIn or Facebook or some of these platforms, you're going to get flagged for spam, and they're probably going to suspend or block your account if you keep doing that kind of thing. So that's another thing. You can automate that process if you're using email. The other thing with email, which is really great and powerful, is these people are opting in to learn more about you or your message or your service, and when you have that, they have already self-identified themselves as someone who's actually interested in being a client, in this case, an investor in your product. Just because I link up with you on Facebook doesn't mean I'm interested in investing in your next deal. So you need a layer to qualify people. Otherwise, you're just sending out random messages. Fletcher asked me a question the other day in the video we did to promote this event, and he talked about email being spammy. And my response was, if you're sending out spammy messages, it doesn't matter if it's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, video, or email. Spam is really a matter of the amount of value to the user. If I have something that is of great value, but you don't think it's of great value, then is it really of great value? If I'm promoting this event, and I'm telling my mom, who has no interest in real estate, do you think she considers this of value to her, or is it a spammy message that she's just going to delete? So you have to think about the end user. And in that case, when it comes to leveraging an email list, you really need to control that. You cannot control that on these other platforms. Instagram is a visual platform. It's not made for raising capital for real estate deals. Certainly you can find investors there, but that's not the best platform to do those things. So ultimately, what you really want to do is build a network that you can control and you can identify where you send the messages. You can automate that process. You can send emails to thousands of people at one time. You can give them all the next steps. And honestly, you can send out a message, walk away for a couple of hours, and have money raised and commitments for a deal without ever picking up the phone, without ever having to follow up and get into a long back and forth. So that's the power of leveraging email for your business, and in particularly for raising capital for real estate.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And guys, I'm sure we've got some questions here stirring up. So don't be shy to use that chat box. Adam, did you have any follow-up on John's comments?
Yeah, so look, that's a really good insight. You want to control your own network. You don't want to have it in somebody else's control, particularly the social channels. I had a couple thoughts about that. One, social communication or communicating on a social media platform does require manual interaction. You've got to actually communicate in real time, with nothing wrong with that, obviously. But email can be automated. So when somebody signs up to your email list, you can automatically send them a sequence of emails. And that can be very powerful in establishing a relationship early on, once somebody actually puts their hand up and says that they are interested. The other thing that came to mind while John was talking was that when you close a deal, I'm just kind of spitballing this idea. It just occurred to me while we were talking. But as you move to actually closing an investment with an investor, in all likelihood, you're going to be doing 90 to 100% of that interaction via email. You are going to be communicating via email as you get to the close. So and you're certainly not going to be doing that, right? Closing on an investment on Facebook. Right? You're definitely not going to be doing it DMing on Facebook. You're going to be doing it via email in a controlled environment. So it does make sense to establish a communication formula with prospects and with investors that aligns with the way you actually want them to close with you when you actually come to raising money for a deal. And that would be email.
Hey, and just to follow up on that point from Dr. Gower, think about how you come across too. You know, if I'm reaching out to my high school buddy on Facebook about this multi-million-dollar deal that I want him to invest in, and I'm trying to send him this through Facebook, how professional does that look? How credible do I look when I'm talking to this guy about investing with me? So establishing the right channels, moving that conversation over to email, it's going to make that process a little bit easier. And you're going to be sending, large files. You're going to be sending documents that they're going to need to sit and review and read. And you want to make sure that everyone understands that, hey, this is a professional environment. So you want to get to that level of interaction as quickly as you can, as opposed to running that through social media.
Fletcher, you got the next one there?
Yeah, this is, I really like the way this is going. I know Eric got in the chat box, so we're going to get to you next. And ladies and gentlemen, drop some more questions in here as we go. I'm going to address this one for Dr. Gower, and then John can kind of follow up. But what is the best way to grow your list from scratch? So let's say somebody in here is listening to that and they're like, wow, this is really powerful stuff. I definitely need to do it. And they have, I don't know, maybe a list of 50 to 100 and they want to grow that. Would you best do that through like content or paid ads, or how are you going to grow that list, Dr. Gower?
Gosh, yes. That is not an unusual scenario for me with clients that come through the door. And, all I want to hear when I ask them, how many people do you have on the list, on your email list? I just want them to say, 20,000. So when a really good prospect comes through the door and says 60, I have to swallow hard and I'm like, all right, we got to start at the beginning. This is how you do it, right? Number one, build out your website. Get some good lead generation buttons on your website with bright colors, right? Number one. Number two, create good content and start rotating that content on social media. That is casting your net out there. Have some good lead magnets. It might be a white paper or a case study. Don't be afraid that you've only got 50 people. It doesn't matter. It will categorically, it will build, right? It will work if you create good content and continue to rotate content on social media. Make sure that every single post that you have on social media, use LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook primarily. You can use Instagram as well, but LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, post as many times as possible and make sure, and automate that, by the way, and make sure that every single post, except those that you're chatting back and forth with, but every single post has a link in it back to your website. Click here to learn more. When they land on your website, make sure you've got those forms inside each article and on every page that says, sign up to my newsletter. All right. So that's how you create the machine. Now, if you want to juice the machine, once you've got it built, and I'm trying to think what else I should tell you, then you can start advertising. So there are a few things that you can do. We could maybe talk about that a little bit later. We can talk about how you can start spending active money to build your list, and it can be a very effective way of doing it. But Fletcher, the first way, categorically, create good content, post like crazy, post like crazy on social media, and make sure you have calls to action at every single point of your machine and your funnel. Make sure there's a, click here to learn more, sign up now. That's how you do it.
John, any follow-ups?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I'm big on, and this may just be the marketing background, but I think it's really important to get clear on who your target market is. Understand your avatar. And I know we're talking to investors, but I think too many people just assume anybody with money, right? That's not necessarily the case. You have to get clear on who your target investor is. Why am I specifying that? Because the person who may invest with Dr. Gower or may invest with Adam versus me or you may not be the same. They may have different barriers. For instance, do they already know us? So if they don't know you at all, one of the first things you have to do is talk about yourself, get them comfortable with you, right? You have to overcome that barrier. You have to understand why you are uniquely positioned to work with this individual. What benefit do you have? What connection can you tap into? Let's go back to our intros. Adam talked about our Cleveland connection, right? So we've got that thing in common. We're both talking about Cleveland. Maybe it's because of the markets. Maybe it's some other personal connection. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want to figure out what is the thing that you need to provide to help that target investor. For some people, it's just, hey, when you get a deal, send it to me. That's the easiest one. For some people, they may not have ever heard of apartment investing or assume that's only for the wealthy. So you're going to have to educate them that normal everyday people can actually invest in apartments too. Here's the reason I'm spending so much time talking about that. When you go up there and you create the stuff that Dr. Gower said, you want to create the website, you want to create your lead magnet, you want to post on social media. But if you really want to take it to a different level, you don't want to just tell people to subscribe to your newsletter. Everyone says that. What value am I going to get by subscribing to your newsletter? Who actually wants to actively subscribe to another newsletter? Nobody I know. Nobody wants to subscribe to a newsletter, okay? What they do want is value. They want education. They want to learn. So if you can create something of value, a white paper, if you can create an infographic, if you can do a quiz, if you can create something that is truly magnetizing, that will compel someone to give you their email address in exchange for that piece of content, that's how you grow your list. Create something that is so unique, so compelling, so enticing that they have to have it. Watch this segue. So on my website, I have a sample deal package that you can download at casmoncapital.com/sample deal. But I created that because what I found was I couldn't find what a sample deal package looked like. I didn't know what to put into it. I didn't know, what to see, what kind of questions to put in there, what kind of things to answer. And as I was going through my journey, I realized a lot of other investors had the same questions, and they were putting together deals. There were semi deals, and it would be an Excel sheet and a couple of pictures. And I'm like, this is awful. Like, you're sitting here making me piece everything together. So to actually share a package that I had spent a lot of time working on for my investors, I thought might be beneficial for others. So take that step, figure out who your investor is, or who, what kind of challenges they face, and then create something that is so enticing that they have to have it. And if you can do that, you will see your email list grow significantly. And Dr. Gower gave some great tactical tips. Put it everywhere. Put it in your email signature. When you post on social media, don't just post, put it in your bio. Change your bio. Your Instagram, your Twitter, change the bio. Change your header. Take out whatever that picture is of you and your friends making silly faces. Put in your bio. Put it on there, okay? So people know when they come to your page and your profile, boom, I can go here and download this very enticing piece. That's the way to grow your email list. And then I know Dr. Gower is going to talk about how to put that on supercharge with some ads. But if you want to go the cheap route and take all the free tactics, those are some great ways to grow your email list.
Yeah, John, I mean, you're absolutely right. You've got to start with the organic first. If you don't have a good system in place that provides value to your prospects, right, that is entirely dovetailing into who you are individually, there's little point even doing any marketing, because you spend all this money advertising, people are going to land on your website, there's nothing there, and they're just never going to come back. So you talk about the investor avatar. One of the biggest problems, I think, certainly one of the biggest hangups that I had going online was actually imposter syndrome. I was worried that whatever I put out there, everybody knows more than me. That was my concern. They're all going to look and think, oh, what's this guy? He's just talking second grade level guy. What the heck's with this guy? So the biggest challenge I think that I come across is folk who, first of all, don't know what to talk about in terms of the content that they put out there. And you really nailed it. I'm going to say you, I mean, John, you really nailed it on the head. You recognized something that was lacking in your ecosystem and figured, you know what? If I can't find it, I bet other people can't either. That's the perfect way to come up with content ideas. Gosh, I could really use that. So I'm going to create something and then hand it out to other people. You know that that's going to be attractive. And what's interesting about the investor avatar, again, this was just a thought that came to me while you were talking, was that not only do you have an ideal avatar, an ideal investor, but investors have ideal sponsors. And for every investor, that sponsor avatar looks different, right? So they are looking for somebody that has a particular personality, who comes across in a certain way, has a sense of humor, doesn't have a sense of humor. However that person resonates for the investor, that's unique to them. And so the key thing when you are creating content, putting out, sending emails, or building a website, is to be true to yourself. You will never appeal to everyone. There will always be people out there who think you are a complete loser. Don't worry about those people. They will never invest with you. It's the ones that think everything you say is profound. Those are the ones that you want to be talking to all the time. And you can only do that effectively if you are authentic to who you are and have confidence that you will appeal to the right people when you do that.
Adam, I gotta say that one of the things that I think stops a lot of people is the fear that they're going to come across as, inauthentic, or someone that doesn't know what they want. Or you put, you got friends, you got family, you have all these people in your newsletter, and people start unsubscribing, and I will tell you that so many people I talk to, when they see folks unsubscribe, they take it personally. It's like, why did Jenny unsubscribe from my newsletter? And it's one of those things, especially Jenny. It's like, Jenny, I saw you last week. How are you going to unsubscribe? And it's one of those things where you have to step back and you have to understand that she may like you, but that doesn't mean she's going to be your investor. And this list, it's not for vanity metrics. When you talk about having 1,000 people on your list, listen, it's easy to get 1,000 people on your list. That's not the goal. The goal is to find people who are interested in doing business with you. And as Dr. Gower mentioned, the goal is to attract those people into your network, into your list, educate them, nurture them, so that when the time is right, they're ready to do business with you because they've had a chance to get to know you, understand the way you think, understand your personality, and you can grow from there. It's not about just getting 10,000, 20,000 people, because if none of those people are interested in investing with you, it won't really help you at the end of the day.
Yeah, love it. And ladies and gentlemen, everyone tuned in right now, do want to just give you some time limits here. We got a little under 15 minutes left, and we do have, just want to be cognizant of everyone's time. So keep that in mind. If you have any more questions, don't be shy. Fletcher, I'm going to flip it over to you here in a second, but I just want to highlight too, like John and Adam, both you guys, everyone pay attention to like the charisma of these guys, because this is also something that I think that comes with time of building these lists. Like you guys have been doing it for some time, you've been educating, and I hope to be at this level here soon too. But you can just hear like in their delivery method, the storytelling, the way they're communicating their message. This all comes from starting at square one, which is what we're talking about today, which is like building this list and putting that content behind the offers. So something that I just
I'm
noticed
totally faking it. I'm totally faking. I'm just like totally mellow and monotonal when I talk. I don't really talk. Anyway.
But I would tell you this,
before Fletcher asks a question, can I just jump in? Because we do have limited time.
We do. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that cool? And it's a couple of things, John, we can chat about real quick.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. You've got a big institutional background from outside real estate, which is an incredible perspective. So I want to run a couple of things by you.
Yeah.
There's two things that not got much time, two very important things when it comes to email marketing. Number one, we talked about organic. So we've covered that in the limited time we got. Basically, create content, build funnels, start driving traffic that way. Once you've got your funnels in place, you got your systems in place that can capture, gives a prospect the opportunity to give them your name and email address. You got to have that, make it as easy as possible. Then you can start doing some paid marketing. And there are various ways that we have found work especially well. Number one, paid advertising. We found that actually what we found is that LinkedIn creates the most organic traffic. This is an interesting dynamic, but LinkedIn creates the most organic traffic, but Facebook is better for advertising. Google AdWords is also good for advertising, but the cost of acquisition is much higher, though lifetime value is also higher. So it's a balance that you have to manage, and it's not something you can calculate straight out of the gate because you won't know what lifetime value is until later. Take it from me, it's better with Google. But you get faster results building a list with Facebook. Another thing that we've found is extremely effective is to do paid webinars. Not this webinar, but there are various places where you can actually pay for a webinar where they will punch out tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of emails in advance of the webinar. And then they will give you access to the people that signed up. So those are also very good ways of doing it. You have to have your website in place. Just don't underestimate the importance of it. You gotta have your website in place and your lead generation machines in place. And then the third really useful way of building an email list actually is two. One is search engine optimization. I'm an evangelist for that. It's unbelievable. We get huge amounts of traffic now, but it takes a lot of time to build an SEO strategy. But the easier way is to do local PR. So what you can do when you have a deal especially is court some of the local journals in the town where you've got your deal or in the vicinity of the deal, and see if you can get an article written, or do a guest post. Make sure you've got links in it. You must have links back to your website. Always, always, always make sure you've got links in there. But we've found those work extremely well as well. Local PR with journals that cater to high net worth individuals, even if they're not real estate focused. So that's how to supercharge once you've got 4 ideas for how you can supercharge once you've got your main system in place, once you've got your website and lead generation machine in place. Then you can move to spending some money on driving traffic to build your list. There's one more thing to talk about right at the end, but I'm going to pause there.
Fletcher,
No, I love it. Those are great tips. Fletcher, I know you're gonna ask a question, so I'll let you go as well.
I mean, before the webinar started, I said the less I talk, the better it'll be. So if you guys want to keep rolling with that, I'd love it. I know we have a couple questions, so
we got a lot of great questions coming through here. So we'll try and put this in hyperdrive here to get as many answered in the next 10 minutes. So go ahead, Fletch.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, you guys just gave me a great lead magnet idea after hearing Adam and then John talk. So I'm getting that out of this too. But I think so. We got 2 questions here that I really liked. One was from Colby, and it was, do you think about hiring someone to write website content or email content for you? And then we have another question, and I'll let you guys kind of choose this. Here's one from Eric. What CRM systems and or email messaging tools do you recommend for capital raisers?
On the content, you need content. You know, you're going to need to be credible, and whether you're using email marketing or not, you're going to need a digital footprint to demonstrate that credibility. Certainly, if you're on social media, you can raise some money from people there, but most people are going to Google you. And if they go to your website and they don't see anything of significance, they're probably not going to do business with you. So you need to have a footprint where people can learn about you, see that you're real, right? It's hard to go out and get coffee today or meet at an event. So your digital presence is even more important than prior to this pandemic. So you definitely want to have content out there and things like that that can help you stand out. If you want to write it yourself, that's great. If you have team members or you want to hire a writer to do that, I think you should absolutely do those things. In regards to the CRM systems, one that everyone I speak with raves about is Active Campaign. So we are using a combination of MailChimp and Pipedrive right now, but Active Campaign is the one that's been the most consistently recommended amongst everyone that I speak to. I am pretty familiar with it. I think from a cost standpoint, a value standpoint, I would look there. MailChimp has a free account. So if you're starting out and you have less than 500 people, feel free to go to MailChimp, learn the basics, get started. To do some of the automations, there's a paid price for that. But if you just really need to get a newsletter and just some of the basics, feel free to start. What I would urge you to do is focus on getting started or taking that next significant step. Don't let us overwhelm you with all of the details that you can do and going to the journals and trying to get ads running. If you have nothing, start with a lead magnet and the newsletter or the email list itself. Just get started. That's the biggest thing you can do, and then from there you can build and grow.
So to answer both of those questions as well, slightly different angle, if that's okay, Adam, if that's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So first of all, first of all, you absolutely have to be authentic. You got to be you. It's no good having somebody else say, I need an article on cat rates. Those are 10 a penny. You could run a cat. Actually, everybody on the call, run the search term cat rate in Google right now and just see, casually whose websites pop up. I'm just saying, as a random example, but you have to address these questions with your own voice. Prospects, they can go online, they can find a million answers to all the questions, to all the terms, to everything, how to learn how to invest in real estate from a million people. They want to know your perspective. So if you do hire somebody to write an article, make sure that you carefully edit what they write so that your voice is woven in that article explicitly, right? It's just got to be your angle, because everybody sees the world of real estate through the lens of their own personal experience. That has to come across in what you write, right? That's number one. As far as CRM systems, and that's customer relationship management systems. For anyone who doesn't know, I just think of them as automated email systems. And when I got into this as a tech troglodyte 6 years ago, I came across ConvertKit and found that it was incredibly easy to use. I will tell you that none of them are perfect. They all have their flaws. I have become inextricably attached to ConvertKit because we've built some proprietary systems that allow us to track subscriber activity on our websites. And that's very, very advanced. Most of the platforms will give you click and opens. You know, there are plenty of open bots and click bots out there that will give you distorted results on that data. What you really want to be tracking is how engaged is a prospect, not just with your emails, but on your website. And so we've just kind of built this integrated system with ConvertKit that allows you to see how much time actual investors or prospects are spending on your website, what pages they're going to. So my recommendation is ConvertKit. It's not perfect. None of them are, but it's scalable. I like ConvertKit. Not getting paid to say that either, by the way.
And I think that's the first time we've had the word troglodyte used on a webinar. So we're grateful for that. And real quick here too, we got one question coming in from Shantanu. But before that, a quicker one I think we can answer is Ben Kogut wants to know if either Adam or John, if you guys could give a link to the paid webinar groups that were referenced. Is there somewhere we can go for that?
Yes. So I'll give you a couple of good ones that you can go for. One is
Aaron, make sure you get this on the chat box.
Well, one is NRE Online. I'm a contributing writer for National Real Estate Investor Online. That's a good one. That's probably one of the most economical. I won't discuss pricing with you because they may change it. It might be different. It might be more. Well, they might be charging me more for all I bloody know. But anyway, they're pretty good, and you'll end up with 400 or 500 leads. People, they'll give you the list of everybody that signs up, and they're pretty good. And they also have wealth management. I think they have about 30,000 RIAs, registered investment advisors. That's a different division of NREI Online. And you can do webinars with them too. We've had good success with that. It's a great way of supercharging your list very quickly. Not cheap, but you get one good investor out of it, and it makes it worthwhile.
Awesome. We got time for maybe like 2 more questions here. Fletcher, I'm going to do this one. Hopefully we can get it quick from Shantanu, and then you can close us out with the last one. And then also Aaron, NREonline.com, I think it was. So Shantu asks, should we be cognizant of the CAN Spam Act before we start an email campaign? I guess we'll start with John. Adam, we'll close that one out.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, spam is so okay. So it's interesting you should ask that question, John.
I don't know a whole lot about it.
Yes. Yeah. I can add a couple of layers to that, but go ahead, John, if there's anything else to add.
I mean, so here's, for me, my background's in corporate marketing, right? So I know what the lawyers would tell me if I were trying to do various things. They've obviously been spending a lot of time focusing on email marketing and putting in, opt-in requirements and double opt-in in some cases, and making it more challenging to certainly qualify that folks have opted into your list. What I would say is, you certainly need to understand what's legal and what's not legal, and make sure you're abiding by the law. But ultimately, it comes down to adding value. And I'll go back to where we started this conversation. If you have come across someone's contact, I think that there is a great way and a great organic way to give them a chance to say, hey, you know what, this is not for me. Because what you don't want to have happen is a whole lot of people report you as spam, because if that happens, that starts to impact your open rates and other things like that. So you certainly want to be careful to make sure that the people you're reaching out to, you are adding value to them. They actually do want to hear from you, hear the messages that you have to communicate, and that's going to make it a little bit easier for you.
Right. So this actually was on my list of notes, what I wanted to talk about, and it's under the heading advanced. Right. The answer to this question, this is advanced email marketing. So spam is something that a sales pitch that you will send to somebody who has not asked for it, basically. But if somebody is actually subscribed to your list, they have actively said, please sign up. There are various layers of, please send me stuff. So what you're sending them is not spam. They might unsubscribe, but they proactively said, please sign me up. All right. So you're not going to run into the same kind of troubles for somebody who's opted into your list. You must have an unsubscribe button at the bottom to give them the option to jump out if they want, but that's very technical. What I would say is in the advanced section is that most important, you need to keep track of your domain reputation. And your domain reputation is the reputation that Google, Yahoo, AOL, whoever heck else is out there that manages these kind of the main pipelines for email traffic across the web. They rank your domain and the emails that you're sending out. And if you do start to get too many complaints, your spam grade will go up and your emails will end up in spam boxes, even if they're going to people who know, like, and trust you and who you communicate with all the time. So there's a few things, and you'll find these at any of the, there's not enough time to go into the details here. You find these at any of the CRM platforms that you've got. Just ask them, how do I figure this out? Watch for cold subscribers. A cold subscriber is somebody on your list who has not opened for a certain period of time. ConvertKit figure 30 days. In the world of real estate, I think that can mean 6 months. We've had investors pop out of nowhere from 6 months ago. But establish a cold subscriber policy. Because if your open rates are super low, that's going to start increasing the spam rating of your domain. So it's something that you do need to look at and pay attention to. I'm not going to get into the details of how to do that for right now, but it is something to look at. And then the last thing that I was going to mention under this was the one way that you can be tempted, and this comes into canned spam, to increase your mailing list, is to buy one. I would caution against doing that. It is extremely difficult and technical to manage a purchased list. The best thing that you can do is to rent them. And that means sending blasts to email lists that people manage, like, for example, a local company that has a local journal that has a subscriber base, and you want to raise money for a deal or get people on your list, pay them to send an email for you and redirect that, anyone that reads it, to a landing page that says, give me your name and email address for this white paper, for example. So you're better off renting other people's lists than buying purchase lists, and always be cognizant, monitor your domain reputation. There's lots of tools you can do that with, and clean out cold subscribers. That's advanced email management, just as we wrap up in this little time that we have left.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we all feel the same. Like, we could just go for another couple hours here, but we're going to close it out. I do want to say, I know Aaron's got it teed up. So Aaron, if you want to put everyone's LinkedIn URLs in the chat box, that'd be helpful. But then also Adam and John, I'm sure we're going to have some follow-up questions for you guys as well. What's the best way for anyone tuned in right now or on the replay to reach out to you and ask any unanswered questions?
Yeah, I
John?
mean, for me, a couple things. We are, working with a lot more investors and trying to help people understand some of the marketing nuances and things like this to grow. So we're going to be hosting an event in the first quarter. So if you want to check that out, you can go to casmoncapital.com/survey. Fill out the survey. We'll make sure you get added to the event. It's only one question. And if you want to email me directly, you can do that too. My email is johnjohn@casmoncapital.com.
Perfect.
And reciprocally, I always say go to gowercrowd.com, and there's a contact page there. Have a look around. If you've not yet bought it, he said, plugging shamelessly my latest.
Oh, this is a plug. This is the plug section right here. Let's get it all
plugs,
out.
it plugs out. Okay. Syndicate, $7, worth every penny, designed to be read in an hour. It can give you a lot of detail on how to build your email list, how to raise capital online. You'll find that at gowercrowd.com. And if you can't find any of the flashing red buttons on that site that's trying to promote that book, gowercrowd.com/syndicate will get you there.
Thank you, Aaron. If you want to link to their websites one more time in the chat, that would be helpful. Again, this is the marketing section. Well, it's all been good marketing. Anyways, Fletcher, before I close it out, I just want to flip it to you, man. Thank you for being here, helping facilitate, and just we couldn't do this without you, man. Any closing words from the co-host?
Yeah, I just want to say that was a really solid hour. Thank you, Dr. Gower. Thank you, John Casmon, for coming on. And I think everybody got a ton out of that. So thank you.
You got to go to cabokey.com, right?
Cabokey.com.
Gotta go to Cabo San Lucas, period.
Right. We'll get that. Hey, guys, Fletcher, if you're thinking about going on a vacation to Cabo or moving there or anything real estate related in that part of the world in Mexico, Fletcher is your guy. cabokey.com, right, Fletcher? Yep. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us here today at this exclusive next level webinar presentation. Here we go. We'll say it one more time, the mouthful: how to build, grow, and maintain a multi-million-dollar email list that actually generates leads, adds value, and isn't spammy. We do have another next level webinar coming up in a week at the same time, next Thursday, featuring a guy that Fletcher sourced. His name is Sam Miller. He's based out of Bogota, Colombia, or maybe Medellin, actually. And he has 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. And the topic of our discussion is how to become an authentic authority in your niche through video. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I know I'm just as amped up for that one as we were for today. So thank you one more time. If you found value in today's message, be sure to like, share, and subscribe on the replay. And yeah, guys, there we go. One final thank you. This has been a lot of fun. I guess we'll quick goodbye from Adam and John too. We'll start with Adam and close with John.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate you having me on today, Adam and Fletcher. Really great to be here. Thank you.
Hey, it's a busy afternoon. We got the holidays going, so I appreciate everybody taking a little bit of time this afternoon to learn a little bit from us about email marketing. And it's a pleasure talking to you. Feel free to reach out. I think one of the biggest things is implementing the tips that you learn when you get a chance to pick the brains of people like Dr. Gower and myself and others. So please take something from this and try to implement it right away. But thank you for having me, and appreciate being here with you this afternoon.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Our audience, thank you for being here with us. You guys rock. Thank you for the interaction. Hope you guys loved it as much as we did. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.